You learn that you're going to have those moments come up where you want to abort, or there's some other shiny thing that, another path that you might take that might be a better one and may get you there faster or whatever.
Hi, welcome to the Judy Torel Show, where I explore topics intended to optimize every body 50, 60, 70, and above.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Judy Torel Show. If you are joining me for this episode, then you are on the second episode of my 5th series, and my topic for this series is, what has ultra-distance sport taught me? What skills have I learned through doing an endless number of ultra sport that I now apply to living in an aging body, that I can now relay and highlight for my clients and for my viewers, that would be an additional aided benefit and tool in your toolbox for how to, to be present to your own body as it goes through the aging process. So I am fresh back from a 380-mile bike ride from Albany, New York, along the entire distance of upstate New York to Buffalo. 380 miles. This is June, and the weather conditions in June should be ideal for the whole entire annual cycle, and they turned out to be not so ideal. We had a cold front when we started with 25-mile-an-hour headwinds for 2 days. We hit a warm heat front midway through the ride. It was 100 degrees where we were biking. It was myself, 59 and 6 months, and another woman I coach, an Ironman athlete at 69 years old. Us two women going across the state of New York, and the skills, mental, for that trek under the conditions that I just described to you weather-wise are going to be a benefit for you to hear about if you are living in an aging body. So what do I mean by that? So the skill that was highlighted for me on this ride an infinite number of times is the mental skill of consistency. So, in all the endurance sports I've done, the events are long and they're grueling. And at any point along the way, you're dealing with external conditions that are non-advantageous. You're dealing with internal things, pains, aches, fatigue that comes up out of nowhere, fatigue and duress and exhaustion that you think you just can't push through, motivation as it waxes and wanes as you're going through the event and you're in a low point. And all those factors I just mentioned at any juncture can cause you to say, you know what, screw this. Why am I doing this? Nobody would be expected to push through these circumstances, or, this is inhuman. Why did I even set this? You're second guessing your goals. You're second guessing the ability to do it. You're second guessing the environmental conditions and the whether or not they're even overcomable. And I'm telling you, like any number of times during this ride, I was like, I'm stopping. Why am I doing this? I don't want to do this. And that would have been inconsistent, right? So the skill of consistency is you learn that you're going to have those moments come up where you want to abort, or there's some other shiny thing that, another path that you might take that might be a better one and may get you there faster or whatever. And you have to keep yourself from letting your mind go off on these sub-tangents or, stop you. I had one event I did one time. It was loops of 25 miles for 100 miles in a run. You came back 25 miles and you had to go back out again. Then you did 50. Then you went back again. You did 75. You went back out again. You did 100. And it was so hot that on the 75-mile transition, when I came back into my home base, I talked myself out of going back out because it was so hot and I was in so much just pain and discomfort. And I stopped. I was inconsistent. And within 5 minutes, I regretted that decision. But in the moment, it was overwhelming. Now I had to go back the next year and do that same race again so that I could champion that moment of weakness, that moment of inconsistency. So, these sport type events teach you the skill, you have to hone in on it. You have to really work it. You have to stay present to keeping yourself consistent as your energy, your motivation, your environmental circumstances are waxing and waning. So now why am I talking about that in this podcast series is because, I've done a lot of multi-stage day events like I'm describing, the one I just finished, when I was in my 30s. I did multiple bike rides around the country, but I am 59 and almost 60. My partner on this ride is 69. And so I recognize now that the skills, the mental skills that I also call life skills that I have been practicing and refining and coming face to face with and utilizing in these endurance sport events, I am also needing to apply in my day-to-day life as I'm living in a body that is aging. So consistency, how does that show up how would that skill help you as you are in an aging body? So right now I have a large number of women I'm working with that are going through the menopausal stage of their life. And, there's all sorts of inconsistencies and things are happening in their body that have never happened before and throwing them off their game. And there's, they'll come to me because they want to lose weight. And then we'll get on a program. I design a program based on individuality, and we have a set program and it's working. It's not working as fast as they may want it to be, but go back to episode number 1 in a series about patience, but it's working. But their mind will start to second guess that, or the things that they have to adjust now for eating in their 50s and 60s and beyond, but they were able to do before when they were younger, and the not wanting to have to do that can lead them to these moments where they're like, I don't think this program's working, or I don't think this program's for me, or, I've got to do it my way. I hear these all the times when it comes to weight loss in an aging body. And it's the same thing for men, just women have this stage where hormones kind of influence it even more than the men going through that stage. But then that evens out, and then everybody's on the same path of, things take longer. Things are different than what you're used to. You're in your own body. And you have to stay, if you've decided you want to lose weight and you make a commitment to a plan, you have to commit to the plan. You have to give it a time frame, a month, 2 months out, not a week or day. And then you have to stay on that, just like these endurance events where the end goal is days away. But in this moment, you're like, what? This was a bad idea, or this isn't working. I think I'm going to take another path or whatever. So the consistency is about staying in the moment when another thing gets your attention that you think is going to be better. It's like shiny, different programs that might get your attention, like ADD, because you're uncomfortable in the moment. And even though it's working, it might not be working at the level or the speed that you want it to, or any number of variables that come into play as we're living our everyday lives. When it comes to weight loss, again, it might not be the program and doing it day by day, but in the moment of a day, you got your meal planned out and where you're going to get it, but you're tired and, exhausted and mentally spent. And you're like, just today, I'm going to just go off it just for tonight. And then I'll be back on it tomorrow. That's inconsistent, so the consistency skill is, you've got to catch yourself in these moments, just like, when my leg is hurting me and I'm in an endurance run and I've got hours and days yet to go, I can say, okay, let me stay present to this. Right now, I have a very compelling drive to want to just stop. I don't know what this is. This might be really bad. I might be hurting myself more. So how do you keep yourself consistent? Is you say to yourself, okay, you know what? I'm going to make an in the moment decision right now. So I'm going to not do that. I'm going to say, let me see. I'm going to give myself 10 more minutes. Let me see if I'm feeling the same way about, wanting to eat X, Y, Z versus my plan. All right, I'm on this event and I want to stop. Like everything in my body is screaming at me to stop. But you know what? Let me go like another mile and let me see how I feel then. And so you're kind of chunking it up, which I've talked about in other episodes. But the point I'm trying to make here, there's a lot of ways that you can get yourself to stay consistent, but you really have to have this overarching skill, this mental skill that you're practicing. And that is, oh yeah, I'm going to want to not be consistent. I'm going to want to be inconsistent and stop and regroup and, change my mind and, abort or like, say this is the end when it's not the end. And the skill of consistency has to be part of your goals. It's like, my goal is to get to this weight. My goal is to get to this destination. And if in the midst of it, I'm feeling like I'm questioning that, I'm going to stay present to that, because there's definitely times to be inconsistent. You don't want to be, I'm not a believer of mind over matter. Like, you've got to be in harmony with the situation. You can hurt yourself pushing through things, but that's different than, having a momentary blip come up and then being inconsistent. So, you got to have in your head consistency, and you got to give yourself a time frame, whether it be a weight goal or a month, a time frame, or the end of an event. And you say, I'm committing to that. And now I'm going to be consistent to that while I'm staying present to what's going on along the way. But noting that, most of the time when you're living in an aging body, you have to practice being consistent when things are working, more so than aborting to protect yourself. We're good at that, in a lot of ways, as we're living in aging bodies. We give ourselves the out so much more frequently now. Oh, I'm old. Oh, I'm tired. Any number of mental scripts that will come up to derail us. So I think that, consistency as a skill for living in an aging body, I'm going to choose this eating plan. There's 10 other ones I could choose, but I'm choosing this one, and I'm going to stay consistent on this. And I'm going to give myself 6 weeks. If I'm not seeing what I want to see in 6 weeks, then I'll reevaluate this. But, don't go on it for 3 days and then be inconsistent, right? So there's, you have to have consistency, give it a time frame, but note that if you're going to kind of go knee-jerk response, it's probably going to be inconsistency more so than stay consistent and hurt yourself. So just knowing that is an important part of the aging, what mental skills you need for aging as well. So skill of consistency, catching yourself wanting to abort and try another plan prematurely, catch yourself making a conclusion about the age of the body you're in right now and whether or not you're able to do something, because of your age. That's another, flaw in thinking that my aging clients will come to me. Well, I'm this old. I don't think I can do that. Or I thought I could, but now I'm second guessing it. You want to catch yourself on that and say, all right, maybe it's different now that you're aging, the reactions in your body to whatever it is that you've committed to. But, you got to stay with that process and say, I'm going to stay consistent, because most of the time, inconsistency is where we'll go. And then we'll look back at it and say, I should have stuck to that plan. To illustrate that point, I have a woman I'm working with right now for weight loss, and she's had 20 some odd pounds that she's lost with me on the plan that we have. And then another plan got her attention. It's taken her longer than she wanted for that 20 pounds, I'd say about 4 months. And, but she's had slips and she's had inconsistencies along the way. So she tried another approach and it crashed and burned. It was, she was thinking that was the magical thing, that maybe, staying with the plan she had and being consistent to that was blocking her from progress. But what she found out was jumping to another plan actually further derailed her progress. And then now we're back on the original plan that we had designed. And she's, we're starting to see that weight, it's a trickle. It's slower when you're older. That's just the way it is. But she's now more mindful of that, having gone off the plan and come back with a little bit more motivation now to say, all right, I'm going to stay consistent. This is slower than I want, but it is working. This is my aging body. It's not as fast as when I was younger. And that's just the way it is, right? So this mental skill of consistency, riding out the waves of wanting to abort or thinking it's not working or adversity that it comes up, and then saying, all right, let me just go a little further and then let me reevaluate. And then little by little, you're keeping yourself consistent to maybe get to your goal or stay a path in a body that's aging. It's a different, everything I do now is different in a 59-year-old body, soon to be 60, than it was in even a 50-year-old body, a 45-year-old body, and definitely a 25-year-old body. And this skill of consistency that, this trip that I just took is really like top of mind from the experience I just had. It was highlighted for me that is a skill that I have to really, help my clients to, dust off and polish up and apply on a day-to-day basis. Just stay consistent, make a decision, commit to a plan, commit to an event or a goal or whatever it is, an eating plan, a disease control protocol, for high blood pressure or diabetes, stretching routine to back out of a chronic musculoskeletal ache or pain, any number of things that living in an aging body, that this skill of consistency is priceless. All right, everybody, this is episode number 2 in my series. I have 6 total, so 4 more to come. As always, thank you for watching. I love doing these. I love the feedback that I get from you. And what's our goal? To make our second 50 years even better than our first 50. All right, everybody, let's keep to that goal. Be well. See you soon.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And if you'd like to have access to some of my additional resources, I can be found at Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on my website, www.judytorel.com.